Blog Talk Radio.
And tonight, this is the new for the chapter of what you'll be seeing in the coming months. Every once a month, basically. We're going to go into this wonderful book, the book titled The Unconquered, the Yamasee and Gullah Geechee Wars in America from 1700 throughout the 1800s. And my guest tonight, Ms. Tolagbe Ogunleye, the author of this great book, will be going into chapters of this book. Tonight, I will open up the line for actual questions and probably comments. Well, usually that'll be in the hour of the show. So I want people to get a chance to absorb what's going to be read tonight, because my author is going to go in on this with more broader details and a more deep perspectives from what we're seeing. So this is going to be pretty much educational tonight, and it's going to be once every month we'll be going into chapters of this book. And always, I will find a link, and you could get this book on Amazon Books to order and purchase the book personally for your own library, and for not only for yourself to read up on, but also for your children to know some actual history. Now, before I go in tonight, I gotta say some things. You know, it's funny that a lot of people been indulgent and getting away from television. I'm not sure what's the percentage of how many black people on the average still watch TV in this early stage of the 21st century. But I would say it's still pretty up there. I would say more than half. But what I've now learned that when people divorce their energy off of one entity, which we call television, they put their energy into another entity called YouTube. And YouTube, at much time, it can be a real blessing, a real serious blessing, and it also can be a curse if you're not careful. And what I mean by curse? Well, you have more control of what content you put out there, what content you're able to watch. But in that, you have to be still mindful what's being put out here on YouTube world. But the bigger point is this, that, with all media outlets, I tell most men and women, if they ask me, and was ask me a question, I'd be honest with them, I would say you have to be very careful what you're watching here now. I mean, if you look at most of these cats that's on here for less than a short period of time, you have to understand it's always about money-making thing and notoriety. Why a lot of them are out here doing it, especially ones that don't got no fucking face. And there's a lot of people, especially here, that people that call on this fucking show that has no face and do YouTube channels. But, people, I mean, I tell people many times, I don't take most people seriously if you have a YouTube channel and you don't show your actual face, actual video of yourself. I mean, I'm not sure if you're trying to hide from the white man, but you can't hide from his ass. And if it's that, then shame on you. But if you hide from the average black person, black people don't really do much to other black people anyway. You want to see if they will, But we got to be men and women up here, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I know most people want to keep putting fear in black people, and that's why we can't progress as a race of people, because the one thing you control a society is you put fear in them. And once you instill fear, you're not going to progress or do what you feel is necessary, your rightful destiny, what you're here to do on this earth. Some people have aspirations and dreams to do things, and they don't really go about it because fear puts into play. So it tells you one thing, if you teach your daughters and sons, teach them this: don't fear nothing. Go into the unknown. That's my advice I would give every parent that has children. All right. So now, I didn't really want to call too many people's names, you know what I'm saying? I noticed a lot of people were talking about the young Pharaoh thing, what he did about, calling black people monkeys and all that stuff. But y'all got to understand this. A lot of y'all people, especially adults, y'all should not be investing too much energy on that dude or anybody that talks so badly about our people. I'm just keeping it real. I mean, one thing I will say, I advise every person to have children, that they should not be indulging any YouTube content that talks rhetoric against black people. But that's my opinion. But anyway. So enough said. Let me see it. Tolagbe Ogunleye, are you there? Let me check if you're on the line. If you're on the line now, press 1. Okay, yep. She's ready, and we're all set. So now, as I bring the author of the book, The Unconquered One, I'd like to bring in back on Talk World Solutions, Dr. Tolagbe Ogunleye. Doctor,
Hello?
are you there? Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm here. Good evening.
Right.
How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear and wonderful. Clear, crystal.
Good.
All right. Yes, so now, like I said, Tolagbe, Doctor, I gave people what they're going to know about tonight. And, anytime we're ready, we could start. One thing before we start, is there anything you want to give reason or purpose in the creation of the book, The Unconquered, before we go into the topic?
Yes, I'd like to say that my real reason for writing this book, I also have a screenplay of the same name, is because I'm just so sick and tired of all the negative depictions of our people. And we're also seen as being cowards who never fought back, who were resigned to their conditions as enslaved people, and just decided that that's all that life offered to them, and they were going to just go along to get along. And that's not the truth at all. Whereas other parts of the Americas, they might talk about the rebellions of enslaved people, it seems like here in America, or this part of America, of the Americas, they downplay the resistance movements of our people. And I think it's time that we learn that we were not a cowardly people, especially for men. I think that's really important for men. And this is basically, I'm a woman, but the book that I wrote is really man-centered in terms of bringing out the history of valiant men who fought back, and they were not cowardly. And so that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. I should also say that the book is historical fiction, but there is very little creative license on my part. The book is packed with historical facts throughout its 412 pages, and the bulk of those pages, on the bulk of those pages, there's information about our history. And reading it, you might be entertained to some extent, but you're going to get a real historical lesson, and I think that that's very important.
Indeed. And that's what we hear on the show and many other shows, to know actual history and things that has not been really talked about, that is not really hidden but not really mentioned throughout the centuries when it comes to the Ma'afa with our people. Because, like I said before, most of us that even learn about slave culture here in America, that they always tell us that it's like they glamorize getting your ass whooped when you're a black person.
That's
like
right.
It's a good thing to get. Even when the civil rights thing went and took its place, went through its stages, that it shows the same thing that happened, back in the even 1600s, where it shows some of people that didn't fight or just took an ass with it. And I'm thinking, that's not real manhood and womanhood. If you can't let the average black person, slap you, slapping you, don't turn your cheek, what makes it seem that your oppressor do the same thing? What's so special about him? I always question that.
Right.
These are things
and
that,
they make sure that they remind you, every 10, 15, 20 years or so, they bring up that same issue about remember, your people, they were slaves, you were slaves. They just keep it going. They never talk about the other aspects, and when you think about our time being enslaved, it was only a small amount of time in comparison to our history, to our world history, and even our history here in the United States of what we call the United States of America. So we need to hear about something else besides being shackled.
I totally agree. And let me give the call number again for people that were listening. Hold on a second. The number calling is 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Press 1, and I will be opening lines or within 1 hour because we want to just clear up these chapters at a timely manner. So when people call in question, they get a clear point to those who are listening. So no further ado, we could get started.
Okay, so the book starts in 1715, and it starts with the Yamasee War, which is one of the most important wars that was fought by melanated people here in what we call the United States of America. And the war itself is something that has been downplayed. Even the existence of the Yamasee people has been downplayed. And when you think about the Yamasee, and many of us might even be Yamasee and don't even know that we are, and as I go through the book, I guess we can get into that. But this particular war really frightened the British people and almost caused them to pack up and leave this area because of what the Yamasee did to the British. And if it wasn't for the cooperation of the so-called Native American people like the Cherokee, who really aren't and never were Native American people. Most of them are primarily European people who took on the name and persona of real autochthonous people. The British would have long gone. And they even write that in their literature that, they were going to have to leave this place because of the war that was fought against them by the Yamasee people. So the book starts with the chapter 1 that I call the beginning of the end. So I'm going to start reading. So it starts April 13, 1715. John Wright's Goose Creek Plantation, Port Royal, South Carolina, late evening. Okay, so here we go. Once again, Chloe, a young enslaved biracial woman, was summoned to the main house to forcibly have sex with her enslaver, John Wright. I must say John Wright actually created, shamelessly foul-smelling and naked. John demanded that Chloe take off all her clothes and get into the bed with him, the bed he usually shared with his wife, Elena, Chloe's half-sister. Chloe had never willingly laid with that degenerate. Unabashedly, he had been raping her since she was 10 years old. Bemoaning her seemingly unending sexual abuse and the heartbreaking circumstances that produced the European element of her bloodline, Chloe told Ayla, one of her fictive kin, that she found it extremely difficult to believe that her oldest sibling, Elena, who refused to bond with her, acknowledge their maternal kinship, didn't know exactly what her notoriously unfaithful husband had been doing to her for almost a decade. Were it not for the herbal potions concocted for her by the freed Okichi root workers, Papa Fleming and his wife, Mama Annie's, by now, at age 17, Chloe would have several loved and cared for but unwanted children. But on this particular Wednesday or Saturday evening, depending upon which civil calendar a particular British interloper subscribed to, Julian or Gregorian, respectively, Chloe reacted in complete contrast to all her younger years when, fraught with fear and anxiety, she felt compelled to submissively lay with and follow the commands of that 50-year-old hypothetical important pillar of Port Royal's political and Christian society. Her metamorphosis was concurrent with two major otherworldly astral events, the virile equinox and its influence on cyclical endings and beginnings and reawakening the dormant productive thoughts and actions of people, and number two, her transmogrification was affected by the great but rare total solar eclipse of 1715, which darkened all of Europe, parts of Southwest Asia, and Northwest Africa. That event heralded adverse, dramatic, and revolutionary transformations in government leaderships as well as the downfall of perceived royal families and the so-called high and mighty. According to the seers and astronumerologists of that era, the eclipse's sphere of influences would deconstruct and alter earthly environs for at least 3 years. Perhaps unconsciously, but still metaphysically emboldened by these two momentous events, Chloe decidedly refused to indulge her abductor and cooperate. Her demeanor conveyed a presage that night and subsequent days and years to follow were not going to transpire as John Wright and the other 7 Goose Creek men of South Carolina boastfully and incautiously predicted. So despite being keenly aware of John's ill temper, his hubris, and the wrath she would incur for defying his easily bruised ego, Chloe refused to indulge her tormentor and participate in heightening his predictably bizarre and sexual pleasures. Instead, she made it virtually impossible for that man, her captor and tormentor, to achieve and maintain an erection. Now incensed, Wright treated Chloe's desecrated body like a spoiled child treats a toy he's having trouble manipulating. He roughly threw her slim but shapely body onto his conjugal bed as if she was a worthless, quilted Puritan Miss Poppet rag doll. Then he stripped her of her tattered and coarse-to-the-touch dress that was made from Honestberg, a German-made scratchy material from which most enslaved Africans' barely functional clothing was made throughout the burgeoning United States colonies. But despite being manhandled and debased, John Wright was still unsuccessful when he tried using his slimy tongue and filthy hands to pry Chloe's mouth open and make her kiss him and touch his tiny, pale, and grubby, uncircumcised penis. So although Chloe was forced to lay next to her abuser, she laid in that bed like an inflexible wooden soldier with her mouth shut tight, her arms decidedly glued to her sides, and her legs closed tightly. Chloe knew that her noncompliance was going to end with her getting a brutal beating. John's words were almost inaudible, and his speech was slurred as he futilely and with anger attempted to push his nasty tongue into her mouth and talk simultaneously. John said, "Kiss me back and touch me now, Chloe. You hear me or I'll beat you." When Chloe failed to obey his command, John reared back and bitch slapped her in the face. Then he said, "Nigger bitch, if you don't want me to smack you again, you better do as I say." Without saying a word or crying out in pain from the sting of his slap, Chloe venomously looked straight into John's bloodshot, glassy eyes, and while soundlessly cursing him, his offspring, and his yet-to-be-born descendants, she continued to defiantly disobey his directive and indulge his lecherous whims. After several more failed attempts to make her submit to him, frustrated and angry, but too drunk to really beat her into submission, John clumsily sat up, took a swig of whiskey from a flask he had placed on his nightstand, and tacitly conceded defeat. Awkwardly, he laid back down, and with his grimy hands wrapped firmly around Chloe's waist, he fell into a deep sleep and began to snore. Convinced that John would be knocked out until early the next morning, probably waking just before dawn, Chloe gingerly took his hands from around her waist and slipped out the bed. She put her washed-out, hand-me-down, once brightly colored apple green dress back on. She grabbed a letter that John had carelessly left on his nightstand. She cautiously opened the bedroom door, trying not to make a sound that might possibly awaken him, and quickly headed down the stairs and out the front door. Chloe hurried towards the cabin where Ganju, called Pope, by John Wright, was housed to seek his guidance about the letters she had read and taken. As she ran from a distance, there in the clearing of a wooded area that was located not too far from John Wright's slave-designed and built log and tabby house, she could hear the familiar dirge, "Throw My Body Anywhere," being sung. Now, if I can, I'd like for you to hear, because this is the actual song that existed. I don't know how much I can play because of copyright issues, but if you could just hear a little bit of it, you can hear that this is a song that was sung by enslaved Africans constantly, and then I'll explain the meaning of the song. Is that okay?
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Okay.
I think I'm turning
right.
to the page. I think it's printed differently. This might be fun.
Okay.
Oh, no, something different.
Here's
Continue.
Huh?
I'm listening. Continue.
Okay, here's the song. Okay, could you hear that? Hello?
Yeah, I hear it. Okay, I hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds
all
good.
right. I don't want to play any because I don't know too much of it because I don't know about copyright issues. But the name of the song is "Throw Me Anywhere, Lord," and you can hear it on YouTube if you care to hear the whole song. It's only about 2 minutes, and there are a couple of different versions that you can hear. So that's the song that you could hear being sung, "Throw My Body Anywhere." That night, the song "Throw My Body Anywhere" and the buzzard dance that accompanied it was being performed to memorialize the long-lived but stifled life of Daddy Bama. Were it not for the depraved and lustful impulses of John Wright, Chloe would have been among the singers and dancers paying tribute to him. She would have been clapping her hands and patting her feet to the beats of the spoons and various drums. Furthermore, she would have been shaking the tambourine she loved and played so well, while other musicians bowed the gourd-bodied fiddles and violins for Daddy Bama. Daddy Bama, a 90-year-old enslaved Alabama man, had dropped dead earlier that spring morning while planting rice in one of the recently plowed fields on John Wright's Goose Creek plantation. Like what most European enslavers did with the corpses of their former captives, Wright ordered Daddy Bama's lifeless body to be undressed and thrown in an unplowed field. The funeral song and the dancer's fancy movements, although polyrhythmic and syncopated, resoundingly acknowledged the fate of captives throughout the colonies, whose deaths were no more regarded or respected than their heartless European captives, heartless European captives than their lives had been. As expected, not long after Daddy Bama's body had been dumped on that soggy ground, a flock of 4 buzzards, who earlier had been seen soaring in the air, awaiting their next meal, landed and tried to begin eating away at the non-angenarian's motionless body. Teary-eyed, paused for a moment and said a prayer to pay her last respects to Daddy Bama, who was like a father to her. She and the other captives regularly lamented that the buzzard dance, which was done more often than any enslaved Africans cared to recollect, was symbolic of all the African captives who, being denied proper burials, were laid to rest in uncultivated fields where they became the meals of buzzards and other birds of prey. Silently, she vividly envisioned a cylinder-shaped piece of white cloth, which this time represented the body of Daddy Bama, being placed or thrown into the middle of the circle where the attendees stood. Then, according to the ritual, the most adroit dancers performed their fanciest steps, moving from side to side and jumping back and forth over and around the cloth in counterclockwise motions while music played. Remembering the importance of showing Ganju the letter secured tightly in her hand, Chloe continued her trek to his cabin. When she arrived at his door, she silently, but in rapid succession, knocked on his flimsy door. That was made from scraps of splintered wood. She called his name in a tone just slightly above a whisper. Resolutely and somewhat impatiently, Chloe waited for him to answer the door. Chloe said, Ganju, open the door. I have something very important to show you. Finally, after what seemed like a lifetime, Ganju, a 15-year-old, wise beyond his years, young Gullah man, came to the door of the minimal walled trench, dark-skinned, 6 feet 3 inches, well-proportioned, robust frame. He was wearing an extremely ragged pair of loose-fitting, faded brown cut-off trousers that hung just slightly below his knees, the standard fare for most male captives. Still half asleep, rubbing his eyes and yawning, he cautiously cracked the door open. When he realized it was Chloe, he swung the door wide open and instructed her to enter, so as not to awaken his nosy neighbors who collaborated with their European enemies. Softly, Ganju said, "Please come in, come in. What's the matter? There must be something seriously wrong for you to come to this shack at this hour of the night." Slightly unnerved, Chloe pointed to the document and began to talk. "You have to read this letter. I took it from John Wright's nightstand. That fucking bastard intends to use this letter to worsen the conflict and mistrust that's been slowly brewing between the Yamasee and the British for decades. John wants to control the Indian trading system, and he believes that the only one standing in his way is Thomas Nairn. In his sick mind, John believes that he can disgrace Nairn by making him appear to be too weak and incompetent to keep the Yamasee in check and make money for the British proprietors. Then once again, the wealthy administrators of this colony will make him the chief Indian agent and broker for South Carolina, the job he just recently lost to Nairn." Chloe continued, "Early tomorrow morning, John will have someone deliver this letter to the Yamasee leadership in Pocotaligo on St. Helena Island. The chiefs will be told that the Miko of the Huspa people living in Florida wrote this note to warn the leadership of the Yamasee not to trust anything that Nairn has to say when they sit down to meet with him and other British officials this coming Thursday. After the meeting, the British are supposed to renegotiate their business dealings with the Yamasee. Also, the issues that concern the Hittichi or so-called Ochese Creeks will be discussed. The Goose Creek men want the Hittichi and the representatives of the proprietors of Great Britain to sit down together and come to a peaceful agreement before war erupts. The letter states that because the Miko of the Huspa people is unable to read and write, he had a young European indentured servant boy write this letter for him. But it was John Wright who actually wrote this thing. I need to get back to John's room so I can return this letter before he awakes from his drunken stupor and discovers that me and this letter are missing, but the Yamasee need to know what's going on." Wondering how Chloe was able to get the letter from John's bedroom without his medicine wife, Elena's knowledge, Ganju said, Where was that pedophile's wife when he took this letter?" Chloe said, "Oh, she and their 2 boys are going to help our wretched grandparents, the Andersons. They just moved to Tybee Island. So Elena went there to supposedly assist them in getting settled. But we know who's going to be doing all the work to get those lazy bastards situated, the Tuscarora people and the Africans they enslaved, of course. She took Kelt's parents and his sister Ayla with her. Changing the subject, Chloe said, "Ganju, I'm surprised you weren't at the homegoing services for Daddy Bama. You do the buzzer dance better than any other of the men on this plantation." I didn't attend the ceremony because we removed Daddy Bama's body from that wretched unceded field. Papa Fleming, Dembo, Mende, Kelt, and I buried his body under a 500-year-old live oak tree. And then we poured a libation and did some other rituals for a man of Daddy Bama's statue. But back to the business at hand. Let me see that letter, said Ganju. Ganju took the letter from Chloe. He cleared his throat and began reading aloud. Yamasee chiefs, please beware. John Wright said that the Indian agent Thomas Nairn is no real friend of your people. He may smile and talk of the British be just and honest in their business practices with you all, but he doesn't really intend to deal with you all and your people fairly. Nairn said that he has made you Yamasee and all the other Indians within 700 miles of Charlestown subjects of the English crown, and you will either draw over to the colonists' side and respect their authority or be destroyed. When Nairn met a few days ago with Charles Craven, the British king of Charlestown, He told them that your people should have stayed in your real homeland in northern Spanish Florida near St. Augustine. And since you all refused to leave South Carolina, the country which now belongs to the English, the militia will come to your villages and hang all your headmen, and then round up all the Yamasee men, women, and children in one night. The resistors will be killed, and the rest of your people will be taken for slaves. All the men will be sent off the country and become slaves in Barbados or other territories in powerful British control in the West Indies. And for the women and children, they will be sold to the pirates, who will make them sex slaves in the houses of prostitution on Fernandina Island and other port cities in the Americas. Nair laughed and said that accomplishing his goal would be very easy because Yamasee men are too weak, cowardly, and childlike to fight back, and your women are wiser and much stronger than you men are. This letter was written by a young indentured servant boy in Florida on my behalf, signed King of Huspah. So that's the letter. Ganju was not surprised by the contents of the letter or Chloe's attestation that it was John Wright who actually wrote it. Ganju said, "This is serious. I have to go to Poco Toledo at once and alert the Yamasee leadership so that they don't fall for this trap. I'll get Dembo, Mendy, and Kelt to go with me. Go and put that letter back before John Wright wakes and discovers it's missing." Chloe, being very concerned that the letter would not be delivered in time to avert a confrontation and war between the Yamasee and the British, said, "You can't walk to Poco Toledo. It's 25 miles from here and too far for y'all to get to before this letter is delivered early tomorrow morning. Y'all need to travel there by horseback." Ganju said, "If we travel there on horses, Samuel, the overseer, will tell Wright horses are missing and that me, Dembo, Kelt, and Mende are going too." "Don't worry about that," said Chloe. "To keep the overseer from telling on y'all, I'll get ready to lure that stupid Buckra into the woods. He'll think he's going out there to have a good time with her, but once she gets that dumb ass into the woods, me, Tuscarora Betty, and all the other women we're able to round up will kill that evil-natured son of a bitch and bury him out there." "Are you sure you want to get involved?" replied Ganju. "You know you're going to have to leave this place once the British discover that you've done what you've done." Emboldened by her thoughts of starting life anew, Chloe said, "There's nothing here for me. I can start a new life in Florida. You know, the Spaniards have a sanctuary policy that gives asylum to any enslaved Africans or autochthonous people who can flee their captors and find their way to Florida. I'll be fine." So that's the end of Chapter 1.
All right.
Chapter 2
All right.
is called "There's Only One Way to Get Those Horses." This is evening, April 13, 1715.
Wait, Floppy? Before you
Yes.
continue, let me give the call number again. Okay, you know, it's 30-minute mark. Let me give the call number one more again for those who are listening or about to listen for the first time. The call number is 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Press 1 for comments and questions. And the topic for tonight's show is titled Chaos Reign Presents the Unconquered, Chapters 1 and 2 by Dr. Tolagbe Ogunleye. One thing before we continue, one thing I did that caught my attention when I first picked up this book was the abuse our women gone through in the 1700s and how they dealt with abuse, you know. And I'm not sure any more graphic detail. And I have not read every book that happened during the history of the country, but just by reading the few pages of that chapter, it just, I mean, really, it got me to say, you know,
Right.
The criminality.
And, you know, it's unfortunate, I think, that the abuse, the real abuse of melanated women is not really dealt with the way that it should be dealt with, as graphically as it should be dealt with, in my estimation. We really need to know what was done to our people. And, you know, I start off by saying this young enslaved woman had been abused from the age of 10, which is not uncommon, even for younger girls to be abused, or even today, but, during that particular time, it was really prevalent because there were no constraints. They abused us, our people, with impunity. There was no one basically among them, none of their law officials that would even deal with the issue. And so we had to take matters into our own hands. And so the way I start off, you have to really read the whole book to see exactly how they retaliated against those people for all of the abuse that they were put through. That's something, even the historians, when they write about it, they kind of downplay some of the things that was done to our people. If they're writing, they'll take primary sources and go through that. But when they actually read, when they actually write their books, they leave that out or they downplay exactly what your people did to us. And I wanted people to know some of the things that were done to us. John Wright actually existed. He was one of the 8 Goose Creek men of South Carolina, the Charleston area. What became Charlestown became Charleston, South Carolina. I wanted people to know exactly what was done to our people, and what is going to, as you read, you'll see what's done to the Goose Creek men for all of the things they did against us. So chapter 2, I titled it, There's Only One Way to Get Those Horses, and this is evening, April 13th. As directed, Retta, a young, curvaceous, caramel-colored, enslaved Bayesian beauty, went to Samuel's cabin to lure him into the woods and his demise, so that Ganju and the other chosen men could gallop to Pocotaligo on horseback and bend canoe to deliver the pressing message to the Yamasi leadership. It was planned that before knocking on Samuel's door, Retta would hike up her dress to show her pleasingly well-proportioned thighs, and the opening in the bodice of her dress would be elongated so that tempting glimpses of her buxom breasts could be easily seen by that wretched overseer. Samuel the overseer was an unflattering and unkempt middle-aged Scottish man who had massive amounts of wiry, uncontrollable, orange-colored hair everywhere on his portly body except for most of his unusually large and misshapen head. Samuel had been fast asleep when Retta knocked on his door, but hearing the knock and believing he was being called to the tabby-made blockhouse to handle some emergency, he quickly jumped out of bed, trousers, slipped into his neither right foot nor left foot black boots, and came to the entrance of his shabby cabin door holding a lit brass lanthorn in one hand and his single-shot pistol in the other. Although Samuel was oblivious to the foul-smelling air that wafted throughout his hut, the smell was so offensive that just by standing at the doorway, Retta had to briefly cover her nose before beginning the ruse. "Oh, my God, Mr. Samuel, please don't shoot me," declared Retta. She licked her well-shaped, voluptuous lips and then said, "Can you help me? I think Mr. Wright's dog, Kingston, I took Mr. Wright's dog, Kingston, outside to pee, and he got away from me. I know you's a dog lover, so will you help me find Kingston?" While pleading her case, Retta allowed the top of her loose-fitting dress to slip off her shoulder so that Samuel could see the sensuously dark and generous-sized areola of her right breast. As the slave driver contemplated her request, with deliberateness, Retta seductively touched Samuel's shoulder and his upper chest and pointing said, "Methinks he ran that way." She smiled alluringly while aiming her eyes towards the dense area of the woods, and Samuel smiled back. Grinning like a Cheshire cat and rubbing his chin, Samuel said, "Did you say the dog ran towards the woods?" Retta shook her head in the affirmative, and Samuel replied, "Well, let's go see if we can find him." Premeditatedly, Retta directed their walk into the densely populated woods comprised of pine and cypress trees, as well as fragrant dogwood trees with either white petal-like bracts or petal-bearing flowers that had just recently begun to bloom. This is where Samuel would meet the deadly fate awaiting him. As Retta walked and called the allegedly absconded dog's name, she pulled Samuel by his left arm to make sure that he was touching her sashaying hips and nicely rounded buttocks. "Kingston, Kingston, where are you? Come here, boy," cried Retta. Enticed by Retta's body movements, gestures, and his perceived assurance of having sex with her, Samuel began to call the dog's name too. "Kingston, Kingston, come here, boy." Now deeper in the woods, Samuel was absolutely certain that the exotic, animalistic sex he craved from Retta was going to be his to enjoy. So he began to slip his grimy fingers under her dress to touch the nipples of her breast and to stroke her derriere on his own accord. Though disgusted by his touch, Retta stuck to the plan and allowed Samuel to manhandle her. Compelled by the women's strategy, she reciprocated by lightly patting Samuel's flabby behind and enormous belly. Still directing their movements, Retta made sure that while the two of them touched each other, they were walking toward the area designated for the assault. Excuse me. I need to take a drink of water. I apologize. I don't know what happened here.
All right. Well, I should take a drink of water. Like I said, number call is 515. Okay. You could take a breath. Let me just give the call number one more time. Just take a breather. The call number again is 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Press 1. And we have about an hour and 10 minutes left on the live stream, and then we'll be going to overtime. Like I said, around 10:30-ish, if anybody want to have any questions, you can raise your hand by pressing 1 on what you heard so far. And remember, like I said, this is the first of many series that I will be doing once a month going into the book. For those that either gotten the book or think of getting the book, you get a good peek of the book. Whenever you're ready, Ogunleye.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Excuse me. By now, Samuel was sweating profusely, breathing quite heavily and really caressing her body. So Retta said, "Shouldn't we look for Kingston first? We'll find that dog. But we can have a little fun first." Pretending to be agreeable with Samuel's fetishized sexual obsession and decision, Retta responded by simply saying, "Okay." Smiling seductively, Retta pulled her dress over her head, exposing her totally naked body. Becoming erect, Samuel eagerly and quickly laid his handgun on the ground and took off all his clothes as well. Then, just as Retta began to move seductively towards Samuel, a group of melanated women came out from their hiding places and surrounded Samuel. Retta quickly and swiftly picked up Samuel's pistol and shot him one time in the head, point-blank range. With an angry tone, Retta chuckled. "Did you really think I would have sex with your dirty, fat ass, you stupid-ass motherfucker?" Samuel's heavy breathing morphed into moans of pain and agony as Tuscarora Betty and the other men repeatedly stabbed and kicked him until they were sure he was dead. Then they dragged his lifeless body to the hole they had already begun digging. They quickly finished shoveling to make the aperture wider and deeper. Then they dumped his bloody, stain-ridden remains into the ground, covered the hole with dirt, put leaves on top to conceal the existence of a newly dug grave. They nonchalantly walked back to their dilapidated hut, took off their blood-drenched clothing, and put on the only other change of clothing they had. then acting like nothing out of the ordinary had occurred, depending upon where they were mandated to labor, the rice, cotton, hemp, or indigo fields. They began their daily chores with vigor. And in melodic, spirited harmony, the women sang spirituals and work songs containing hidden messages of reprisal and resistance with their fellow but unaware captives. So that ends chapter 2. And I apologize. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
It caused me to cough.
Yeah,
but that's the end of chapter 2.
You know, and one thing that I like about that chapter is how the element of something bastard. You know, so like he think he was going to get some nice, fresh, melanated yoni, and in return he got ambushed with really was a so direct ambush that, you know, it was the sweetest and most, you know, I would say sweetest death a person could gain, and that person got it real hard. You know, guys say, you know, this black woman's thing that's between us will kill you, and it shows in that chapter well. Yeah, but you know, funny thing, they don't. You know, when we always talk about when they always say pushing women empowerment and this feminist stuff, and I think say, you know, most of them don't understand the history that say, you know, out of all race of people, the black woman is the last of all race that's going to sit there and lower herself to go and spread her legs to any man that's non-black by the numbers. Today it's a little different now because the generation, because they've been so programmed now that, you know, it's more highly favored that they're going to swear now because of the indoctrination that we failed as people to really control the of our race. So seeing this and reading this, it shows that, you know, our women didn't play during them times. And this is not really talked about in history books. Not at all. Don't play at all. They will let you know. Say, you know, yeah, you might be able to take it, but I'm going to win this war one way or the other. And they're going to get some form of revenge. You know.
Right. And if you think about, like Steve Coakley said, you know, that some of the information that he was able to get about the Boule and other political issues that we needed to be apprised of was by women in that role. Like they were invested in whatever man, you know, they were trying to get this information from. And if it wasn't for these women, the rules used by these women, some of the stuff that we now know about what occurred would never, it probably would have stayed in the dark, you know. And so I don't see anything wrong with women using their bodies in that capacity, you know. And maybe some people might disagree with me, you know, but in the end, like you said, the overseer, he got exactly what he deserved. He thought he was going to get one thing, and he got something completely different. You know, and the men were able to go to Poco Toligo in order to warn the Amasi leadership about what was about to occur. Now, the letter that I read, that comes from an actual letter that was written to the Amasi leadership telling them that, you know, what was going to happen to them, what was going to happen to the men, and what was going to happen to the women. You know, the men were going to be sold into slavery in Barbados and other Caribbean countries, and that the women were going to be sold as sex slaves. So that absolutely, this letter supposedly existed. Now, I tend to believe that some historians made the letter up. I'm talking about present-day historians made it up, because this is a letter that no one could find until recently, maybe like 20 years ago. This letter supposedly miraculously appeared. It was lost in the archive. And some historian or student, they were, you know, just going through material and this letter popped up. You know, and European people, they do that all the time, where they'll create things. So either somebody created that letter approximately 20 years ago, I believe it was. It might have been a little longer. Don't hold me to the exact time frame. Or, as I suggest, one of the Goose Creek men, and there were actually men that were called Goose Creek men, who basically took over South Carolina and called it their own. I believe that one of them, possibly John Wright, who was one of the Goose Creek men and who wanted to be in control of the Indian trading system, what they call the Indian trading system. I believe he might have really been the person that wrote that particular letter. And there was a rival between John Wright and Thomas Nairn about who was going to be in control of the Indian trading system. And if you think about it, during that particular time, that trading system was very important to the European people. They made loads of money with the animal furs that they were able to get. You know, they were the Indian people, so-called Indian people. The autochthonous people were killing deer and bears and beaver and other animals who were cut up and their fur was taken off of them. I forgot what you call that practice of taking off the skin of animals, and it was shipped back to London and other parts of Europe and made into hats and coats and you name it. And it was a very lucrative trade, and everybody wanted to control it. And in addition to that, then the agricultural trade. And, you know, we often we talk about cotton as being one of the major exports from the United States. But there was also hemp, and hemp has so many different uses. You know, most people, when they think about hemp, they think about marijuana, you know, but it was also used for building, and you name it. I can't even think of the things. You go online and think of all the uses of hemp. You'd be astounded. You'd be astounded. You know, you can even drink the hemp. You know, make hemp milk. Now they take the seeds and people are pouring it on their cereal. You know, because of the nutritional benefits of hemp. You go on and on and on. And actually, they say it wasn't until I forget the European man, also responsible for the railroad. I can't think of his name right now. If it wasn't for him, hemp would still be used. Oh, you could also use hemp to make clothing. So if it wasn't for him, I believe it was J.P. Morgan, and don't quote me on it. It's one of those so-called tycoons. Hemp would still be the major crop that would be used in the United States because it was much more beneficial than cotton actually even is today. And from what I've been told, or I remember, the way that cotton is grown and the pesticides and all the things that are used on cotton, they say we shouldn't even be using cotton to make clothing because of its detrimental effects on the body. The same types of pesticides and things that are used to grow cotton or to treat cotton are not needed when it comes to hemp. Now, someone can quote me on that, but I know there's some differences. And supposedly hemp is a plant of superior quality to cotton. So the point is, though, that they're making money off of hemp and rice and indigo. We know that indigo is used for dyeing, and it's really funny because indigo actually, when they first begin the process, it's green, and then as it's processed and they begin to use it, the green turns into blue. And, that's why we have all of these, the genes, and the color that they are, and all the other things that are made from indigo. So these Europeans, they have a gold mine. We're not even talking about the gold and silver that they came here looking for. They're also making money off of the agricultural products and the products that are made from the animals that are being slaughtered. And then, of course, the land, and in the southeast, the growing period or the time that crops can be grown was so much better in the south than it was in the north. So they're just racking up, and they're using the autochthonous people in order to become wealthy, and they're abusing them. So when we talk about the enslavement of people, most people think about Africans being enslaved, but there were autochthonous people right here in the Americas. We're talking specifically about what we now call the United States of America, which is really, the United States Corporation that are, claiming themselves to be Americans. But right here, autochthonous people were enslaved, and, if you decided that you didn't want to work, they'd want to destroy you, annihilate the people. And they did annihilate a lot of people. We don't even hear those names of those autochthonous people anymore. And some of them are still here, and they just been ignored. Like the Yamasee have been ignored. Some people say that that as a tribe, they no longer exist. But now we're beginning to realize, no, the Yamasee are out there, and they're very much alive. So this is a part of history I think that really needs to be told. And, how the Yamasee and other autochthonous people were a great benefit, to the English, Scottish, the Germans, the French, the Spaniards, you name them. All the European people prospered because of the autochthonous people on this land. And they were dark-skinned people. They were melanated, and we're not told that. And so that's one of the things that I deal with in my book.
Yes, excellent. And, especially hemp. And, I'm not sure hemp was more expensive back in them time or might be the same price of cotton. I had to really dig more research on the price of hemp during them times. That, it made more sense to make things out of hemp, but because of the quality and how people were going to use it, maybe that's the reason why they said cotton was a little bit more better. Well, it goes back to agriculture. What certain crops they can grow more abundance and make more greater profit. Because with cotton, I don't know much of the effects on the body. Are you about to say something?
You said.
Okay. Yeah, like cotton, what are the effects of the body with cotton that you said that happens to the body when people wear cotton?
Well, I think it also has to do with who's in control of what. And so if you're you're in competition with someone, and one person is selling hemp. He has plantations filled with hemp, and he's selling that. And you have cotton. How do you eliminate your competition?
By taking the competition out.
Right, and so you find that happening over and over again. Even if you think about cars, I don't know if you remember the car, the DeLorean, I believe it was called, where it was an excellent car, supposedly better than some of the cars that exist today. So
because it was made of metal. It was one of the last few cars that was made of, I think, stainless steel metal.
Yeah, I can't speak intelligently about it, but I know it was eliminated by people who didn't want that product to or people to buy that product more than, was it Ford? Than Ford's product? I don't know who it was, what auto maker was in competition with DeLorean. But they did everything to destroy that man. Not that I, care about either one, but, miraculously he gets caught with all of these drugs, and before you know it, they've stained his reputation, and no one wanted to buy his vehicle, and that led the way for other vehicles to be sold more readily than they would have if they had to compete with the DeLorean. So you find that happening with everything. The choices that people make are not so much because we have the better product. Even like, what was it, the 8-track versus the other DVD that was used. They said the 8-track was a better system for listening to music, but it had to be destroyed because the other company, what was it, the 4-track? I can't remember who they were competing against, but I remember having 8-track. I might even have a few of the 8-tracks still around here somewhere. They didn't want that one to be successful, so I had to eliminate it. You make all sorts of disparaging remarks about it or about the person who produced it, manufactured it, created it, and then that leaves the way for another product to become the main item that people buy. So that's something that goes on over and over and over again. Even as we speak, I suspect, there are some products that are much better that we're not are not being given a chance because someone is going out of their way to destroy it.
Okay. Well, Tolagbe, we do have callers now. Raise your hand. You want to see if they have any questions or comments for tonight? Okay. All right. So I'll open the first line. 864. May I ask who I'm speaking to?
Yes. How you doing, Brother G?
How you doing, man? Good.
How you doing, sis?
Yeah.
Hi, how
great.
are you?
I'm doing fine.
Let me open one more line. Hold on. All one. May I ask who I'm speaking to?
What's going on, man? JNYC.
All right. So what do you have for us tonight, Sebastian?
Well, I definitely want to appreciate the sister and her wonderful book, and I am going to try to reach out to you and see how I can try to get my hands on that book. But a question that I have for the sister, because it definitely takes a level of scholarship, a level of intelligence, level of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to be able to put together a book. I wanted to ask the question of the importance of, I'm going to say, returning or looking back at situations such as the ones that you encompass inside your book in order to animate for historical content for anything, of importance and relevance. Do you feel like these things are relevant, not only just because you have a book? I mean, you definitely can answer. Or do you think these things are non-relevant as far as, us doing ourselves as adults and encouraging in our community and our children? Or, do you think sometimes people can become stagnated at looking back and, identifying with slavery, identifying with the places that we come from in order to be in the positions that we are in now?
Yeah. Well, before I answer that question, you can read the book for free. If you have a Kindle, you can read the ebook for free. All you have to do is go to Amazon and, type in The Unconquered, the Yamasi and Gullah Geechee Wars by Tolagbe Ogunleye, and you can read it for free. So you don't even have to wait until, the resources become available. Go in there, you can start reading tonight if you want to. But back to the question about its relevance, about the relevance of the book, I think it's relevant because we have not been told about this aspect of our history. And I not only deal with the Yamasi, but I also deal with the Gullah Geechee people and the wars they fought against the United States of America. I think that's really important, not only because they fought, they won. But we're not told that. The government, the United States government corporation, was forced to sign treaties with those people. Even though I know we hear about all the treaties that were reneged upon by this government, and I'm sure maybe you even said that when you were a child, when you call people an Indian giver. Have you ever heard that expression used?
Yes,
But they don't
ma'am.
use that anymore. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's talking about the treaties. But when we think about the Indians, we always think about these light-skinned people with long braids, and those were not those people at all. They looked like us. They were copper-colored. If you look at the pictures of that were taken by artists during that particular time, if they haven't been lightened up, because they started lightening up those images. But if you look at the images of those people, they were dark-skinned. They looked like us. They had kinky hair, and they referred to them as copper-colored. If you're copper-colored, what color are you? And they're calling you a Aboriginal, a copper-colored person. That's my third chapter, where I talk about, the copper-colored people. So I think it's really, really important. And some people say it's not relevant. Well, if it isn't relevant, why are we still in this a problem that we find ourselves in today? Maybe if we paid attention to the history, we would be doing better as a people. They say that if you don't know your history, you're condemned to repeat it.
Right.
And look at what's
Right.
going on.
Right.
Starbucks. You got people going in there, and not only in Philadelphia, they had an incident in California where this nasty Asian woman, who needs to go back where she came from, you're going to tell someone they can't have a code to go to the bathroom, and looking at them real nasty, talking down to them, and they're in there to spend their money, making her livelihood possible. And you're going to talk to them like a dog? You're going to call the cops on someone just because they enter your facility, and you're automatically assume they're there to do no good? But what if we didn't do that? What if we stopped dealing with these people? What if we had the gumption to go out and get our own and forget about all these other people? Where does that come from? Does that come from a people who were told that they were just slaves, that they were nobody, that they were stupid, they were incapable of doing for themselves, taking care of their families? Or does that come when we as a people realize that our history, we had a history of people who didn't tolerate all that foolishness. We had a history of building and prospering. We need to hear that because it shapes who you are. It's just like for a child. If someone tells me your mama was no good, she was a whore, she never took care of her family, she was never around, what is that going to make you? But if you hear about, let's deal not just for women, but for men too, but for women at this particular instance. If you hear that your mother was pillar of one of the pillars of society, and she took care of her family, she did this, she did that, she was intelligent, she was kind, are you going to try and mimic that? Or you may not be affected by the fact that someone said your mother was a whore, but you'll hold your head in shame. It might impede upon your progress for some people. You become basically what would you call it? You're ashamed, so you walk around with your head down. You don't want anybody to actually know that you exist because you've heard so many negative things about you. So I think that history is very important. And maybe people don't understand. Maybe it's just me because, I like history. I like reading about our accomplishments, but I suspect that more people, we would do better as a people if we knew that there are examples of us doing for ourselves. And maybe that's just me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Shabazz,
hey.
Yeah. I got a new line up open up. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No, I just want to ask one last question. As it relates to you understanding, sis, I guess about the dynamics of the people of us and where we come from and the things that we've been through, do you feel like we are prospering and we're, at a place where we can be comfortable, or are we basically in the same situation or situations as our ancestors and people that came before us, dealing with the same group of people?
I think we're worse off than our ancestors were. I think my mother and father led a better life than I'm living. And I'm definitely living a better life than my children are living. We're worse off. We have nothing. At one point, we had hotels and hospitals and medical schools and farms. Look at how much farmland we've lost, over the last 50, 60 years. We've lost everything. What do we have?
Right.
People did better than right out of the Holocaust enslavement than we're doing now. I remember when I was growing up, everybody had a mother and a father in the home. Now, who has a mother and a father in the home nowadays? We've been pushed away from one another. You turn on TV, they never show two melanated people together, whereas you know that they're couples. There's always a European somewhere in the mix, and we begin to believe that that's normal. And you could go on and on, all the examples, that are pushing us away. We're ashamed of our hair. We're ashamed of our skin color. Everything is a problem. Our neighborhoods are like war zones almost. And that's how and even if they're not, that image of them being war zones is something that goes all over the world, where people, they say, "Oh, don't go there. You'll have to fear for your life. Ain't no telling what'll happen to you." That has to change. What if we had our own TV stations and radio stations and all the other things that we used to have before? We could change our perception of ourselves. Someone else is telling us who we are, and we brought into it. We believe what people are saying about us. And these negative images of us, they go all over the world. All over the world. That movie, 12 Years a Slave. Who wants to see enslaved people dancing, and they don't dance the way you want them? You got the right to hit them upside the head like they threw a brick at the woman's head because she wasn't dancing the way that the man wanted her to dance. What kind of image is that to send across? Now, what if instead of that image of you hit upside the head and everybody cowering and afraid to say anything, what if he had thrown that brick, and before the brick could hit her, a man jumped up and pushed the pushed the rock out of the way, and then they started beating on that man. All the men started beating on that man together. Wouldn't that change, our perception of ourselves?
Damn right, real.
We have the images are horrible. So I think we have to go back and say that's not real. Now let's deal with some real issues. And that's what I'm saying with this book. I'm saying those images that they're projecting on the screen are not real. Let's look at some real images of our people and what they were able to accomplish.
Okay.
I think that that's really, really important so that we can be a better people.
That's right.
All right, Shabazz. before Jay, before you speak anything, let me open this line. 302. May I ask who's speaking?
Yes. On behalf of the
what the fuck?
Queen of Queens who's speaking tonight.
You don't start that bullshit tonight. Don't start that shit tonight, please.
On behalf of the woman who's speaking, Gary, the Queen Mother of TRS tonight, we're ready to move the process forward. And that's a beautiful thing.
Okay.
And I need to know her name and her book.
Hello, sir?
Her book, and her name is so very, very important.
Listen, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir?
Right. The name of the book, again, is The Unconquered, the Yamasee and Gullah Geechee Wars, and my name is Dr. Tolagbe Ogunleye L.
Will you spell that, Queen of TRS in 2018? Spell your name.
Okay, so Tolagbe is capital Tolagbe. B is in boy E. And Ogunleye is O, G as in good, U, N as in Nancy. And you can go to Amazon, like I said, and you can read it for free.
And the name of your book, A Queen Mother of TRS in 2018. What's the name of your book again?
Okay, it's called The Unconquered, the Yamasee and Gullah Geechee Wars.
All right. I want to add into international public record the matriarch, and you know it more than anybody.
Sir. You can't interrupt because I have one person that did not speak it for you. I opened the line to see what this is. Once Jay,
I need to speak to the Queen Mother. I only want to speak to the Queen Mother if I may.
All right.
No, let's see what he got. Let's see if he can say something brand new. I'm gonna give him my spot and I'll go after him. Let's see what he can say brand new.
All right, you hear that, Mendoza? I'm opening your line and then you can speak your piece. I prefer a question, but you can speak for this time.
On behalf of, after 6 years of the pain, I'm the Queen Mother who can give you testimony of the sovereignty, integrity, and dignity and independence of the Gullah, Geechee, and the people of Moabite in America under the original contract. And everyone, go look at your Western movies. If you're black, brown, red, yellow, and white. If you go look at your movies, it talks about the Wild, Wild West and the indigenous people who already had a contract. The movies in the Westerns said that treaty's no good. Me no make them whopping with the white man. White man speaking with forked tongue. And then it said death to the white eye. Now, those who claim their nationality, sovereignty, integrity, and dignity because of the Queen Mother on the line tonight, she gave you testimony of what all Westerns told about indigenous people in the United States of America before the Constitution, before the Confederate flag, or the red, white, and blue. All indigenous people said that treaties are no good. Me no make them whopping with the white eyes. White man speaking with forked tongue. Death to the white eyes. That's what every Western told everybody as you want to get Netflix and chill. And because this great matriarchal mother, after 6 years of pain, is on the line tonight, she knows of the sovereignty, integrity, and dignity of the mothers and grandmothers and the great-grandmothers under the moon and the sun. So I'm going to look into this Queen Mother, and she's going to look into Wednesday night in TRS, where the chosen daughter, the Winnie Mandela, Aksheda Veda, and this woman, they're going to be in solidarity. I promise you glory in 48 hours. Queen Mother, give me a response, because I know you can feel me. And I know that a lot of people in TRS, they don't know what the fuck I said.
Well, I understand exactly what you said, and I think what you said is very important, you know. And I think people are changing. Some of the things that you've said, maybe some people aren't ready to hear them, but ultimately, you know, talking about us as being the Aboriginal people of this land, and being natural people, Moorish people, Moabites, I think that ultimately people are going to hear that message and their lives will change for the better. So, just hang in there. And, don't be discouraged.
Everybody from Tyrone Thompson, Queen Mother, they know I'm not discouraged. From Howard the Coward, Bianca in St. Louis, or Chicago, or Detroit, they know I'm not discouraged because I'm a pack killer on behalf of the matriarch. You are the chosen daughter of the matriarch. Queen Mother, tune in on Wednesday because the chosen daughter, Winnie Mandela, will be hosting and producing on Wednesday in TRS.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
All right. Now, JYC, you have anything to say? Or questions for tonight? Come on. Let me check my word. My mic on? Okay. All right, Shabazz, you can ask your question.
Okay. I guess, sis, in your view of us as a people, and recognizing that there are a problem, that there are problems. What are some solutions that you think that we as a people could implement or utilize as as a collective? Or do you feel like we can work as a collective, or should even consider this?
Well, something I think I learned years ago, that sometimes you have to be a committee of one, because some of the people that you're trying to reach, maybe you'll never be able to reach, and that even goes for family members. So that shouldn't inhibit you from doing what it is that you feel that is important. And sometimes once you get started, other people will join in. But, until they come, do what you can do, because that's only what you can do anyway. No matter whether you're with somebody or you're not with anybody, you can only play one role. It'd be nice to have a lot of people go along. But, there has never been a time when everybody's been on the same page at the same exact time. And I know, like, when they talk about the American Revolution, for example, we're talking about, the British supposedly being against the people who became known as Americans, but we know that they're not Americans and they're not white. We are the Americans. The melanated people are the Americans, the white people. That's a status symbol. But anyhow, if you go to Philadelphia, for example, you'll see areas where they mark out were fought during the American Revolution, the supposed American Revolution. There were people who didn't join in. The Germans didn't fight during the American Revolution. They were sitting in the park picnicking while the fight was going on. They're pointing their finger and saying, "Oh, look at them," and laughing. While they were fighting, they didn't join in. But when you see them now, they act like they were part of the American Revolution, and it's a lie. But they take the the credit for it. I can't think of the name of this group now. Oh, the Quakers. They didn't fight during the American Revolution. But now when all sorts of celebrations are going on, they're, jumping around, and celebrating and smiling like they were a part of it, and they were not. And they know they were not. Now, the Quakers were involved in the trade in enslaved Africans, and they did enslave our people, and they even lie about that now and say that they didn't do it. And they'll tell you, no, we brought him or her to keep them from being enslaved, but seeing that we have them, we might as well make them work. That's their rationale for saying, we purchased a few, and they know that they're lying. So don't wait for other people. Go ahead. It may be the analogy or the information I just said doesn't seem to be pertinent, but some people are not going to do anything but they're going to always take credit. Once you achieve something, they're going to always try and take credit for it. So, again, do what you can do. We need schools. And if we don't have schools right away, start out like everybody else started out. Have something in your home. If you can't do it during the week, on weekends, maybe during the summer you might have some time. Or you might have 1 month out of the year where you can put together some sort of program where you teach, or, get together with some other people if they'll join in with you, and everybody take a day, and sit down and discuss what each person is going to discuss that's relevant to our existence. But we have to do something. We can't continue like this because we're seen as being the laughing stock of not country, but all around the world. People are laughing and saying, what the devil is wrong with those people? And some people need to step to these people on TV and tell them, you need to stop making fools of us. Like they got that Cardi B, that child was nasty. There are others too, but I'm just thinking lately they were showing some video of her. She was gyrating all on the TV and whatnot. What the devil is that? How does that make us feel? And she can't talk English properly, but I think that's one of the reasons why they talk about her being so great. And I don't know what she is, but you can rest assured that they're saying, oh, that's one of them. So we there's so much that we can do. Start little. We're not going to be able to start big. Start little. Even like this whole thing, and I'm ashamed, that I even have family members that were talking about, well, we can't go to Starbucks anymore, so let's go to Dunkin' Donuts. Go to Dunkin' Donuts? How about you go home and learn how to make donuts on your own? All you need is some flour, some flour, some yeast, and some sugar, maybe a little salt and a little bit of oil, and you can make donuts. Why are we going to people who don't like us? Go home and brew your own company. How about we establish relationships with coffee growers around the world that look like us and start importing our own coffee beans if we can? Or think of other things that we can do and begin to brew. If you have to drink coffee, brew it yourself. I'm not a coffee drinker, never were. So Starbucks wasn't going to get my money any kind of way. And donuts, Dunkin' Donuts, I don't like their behavior to begin with. Some of the people, most of the people are foreigners that are working in those Dunkin' Donuts now, and they're nasty. They don't like us. I was on another show and I was talking about the fact that there was a Chinese restaurant in New York during this particular time, kind of long ago, maybe like 20 years ago, but I'm sure there are other instances of this where I talked about the man dropped the chicken wing on the floor and then picked it up and put it in his pot. But I didn't remember the story then. I guess my age was getting to me and I forgot. There were about 4 Asian Chinese men in the store. They took a chicken wing and kicked it around. They played basically soccer with the chicken wing. And when they finished playing with that raw chicken wing, they took it and stuck it in the pot for sale, to be cooked for sale. And then some people were watching and told them, don't go in that store anymore. And, of course, there were some people that didn't go in the store anymore. But there were some were talking about, I don't care. I'm going in the store. That food is good. The grease will help to kill the germs. And that's some of our mentality, where people keep on abusing us and we keep on tolerating it. And maybe it has to do with our history of being tolerant of the ill behavior that we've been subjected to. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm long-winded. Maybe I need to hush. But we need to start little.
Let me ask you a question now that I'm here. I wanted to ask you.
Well, Jay.
Yeah, come on. Let me go in. It's time right now.
Well, I'm going to go in, but let me see who this is. All one, right. Who's this? All one?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask a question. Yeah, real quick.
All right. Go, Jay.
All right. I heard when you had said about the 8-tracks and the CDs and things like that. I agree with you to a certain extent. But I say this, with everything there's a give and take, right? So the 8-track was good, but it was a big device. It was a big tape. So they went and they got the regular cassette tape. That was smaller. That was supposed to be like an enhancement. Then the CD came in, right? And then the CD was supposed to be a better quality of music. Plus, you can fit more because it was a flat disc. And then, I would say, the record, the vinyl. But the vinyl was a big piece, the 45 into the vinyl, and then it went to the CD. And even with the movies, VHS, you had the the VCR, DVD player, and now is digital. I agree to a certain extent. Like I said, some things were better quality, and then some things got products. I've noticed that, yes, there's a lot of companies that make cheaper products. They don't put so much emphasis in quality because they want to make money. They want you to buy that equipment over and over.
Of the red, white, and blue.
Shut your old ass back, you old drunk motherfucker.
Go back.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, go drown yourself in alcohol, motherfucker. Anyway, what I want to say is that, yes, you're right. To a certain extent, there are certain things that are bad and good, but I think that with everything that comes a give and take. So, digital is, you save space because now you don't have to physically carry things around. Yes, like an MP3 player, but then if that gets erased, then what do you have to back it up if it's erased? So, yes, I agree with you, but then you economize on space. So, I think that everything has, again, a positive and a negative to it. We just got to figure out what weighs out more, positive or negative, because you're going to always have some negative aspect to something and always something positive. But again, looking towards what's better for you and what makes more sense, in general. That's all. And respect to you on writing a book. I commend you. Keep doing your thing, and much respect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess my only answer to that would be, where is our technology? If you think about most of the inventions during the Holocaust of enslavement, they were made by us. They were stolen from us. So where are our inventors? I know we have some, but we need so many more people who have the ability to invent, and they need to step up. No matter what you think, or how insignificant you might think that invention is, step up and make it available. So we don't have to rely on other people. Like you're saying that, I guess the latest invention, it could be erased. Somebody out there probably knows, something that could be done where it doesn't erase information. And they're melanated just like us. So we need those people to step up. And we need to stop relying on other people and thinking that their ice is colder and their sugar is sweeter, because it's not. And that's the point. And we still have that mentality, let somebody else do it. No, it's time that we do it. We need to step up. That's what's really important.
All right. Who's all ones that open up? All ones? The line was open. All right. Let me open this one line. 425. May I ask who I'm speaking to?
Hey, Gary, how you doing? This is Brother Howard. How's it going, Gary? I haven't been, I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole show, but your guest sounds pretty good. I'm sit back, and I didn't get a chance to hear the chapter readings, so I really, just called in to thank you and the guests for providing a good show tonight. So that's all. Appreciate it.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Who's all ones? Is that you, Gigi? You're all ones?
No.
Yeah, you are, because you're the only one that's all ones.
I'm all ones? Okay, if you say so. Can I speak to the author now?
Yeah, she's here.
Yes.
You may speak.
Hello, Doctor. I am thoroughly. What?
Before you speak, we have 17 minutes left on this live stream. Call in now, 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. Go ahead.
Okay, I can go now?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, Doctor, I just want to thank you. I was so happy when I heard your voice and I heard that you were back. I thoroughly enjoyed your reading today. It was very, very interesting. And I know that you said that you were trying to give, I think you said, a more male-centric view of what was occurring. But I really appreciated your thought and your depth as far as what the female was going through and what her thought processes were as she was going through the the rapes and the abuse. So that was it was very nice to hear that point of view. And you are not long-winded. You're very, very interesting. And thank you, Gary, for finding this guest. And that's it. I just want to say thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had a better voice in terms of reading, but get the book, or read the ebook, and you can interpret it the way you want to read it, the way that it best suits you. But I appreciate you, and thank you so much for listening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And one thing, I gotta be clear. Even with this book that I've gotten, it's not just a regular read where you just read and put down. This is something you want to have around your children, your young teenagers, to read, to understand actual, true history. The history that's not been talked about, the hidden history that's been hidden through society throughout the centuries. And it's always good to have, if you can, get the physical copy, including the digital copy of these material works, or all works, because you want to have a library of yourself to really break the ice, like they're saying, and give out the real in depth of what really happened in this country, or in general when it comes to our people, black people in general. And like I said before, all forms of institutional schools, from public charter schools, don't talk about black people winning. They make it very much to not only degrade our people that was enslaved, but go as far as tell us about that our people was not slaves at first time. They come here as citizens. Hell, if y'all remember the comments made on a particular individual that said he's an intellect, but really these people are not intellect. They're just so-called college trained, like a Ben Carson. Talking about, say, our ancestors came here as servants. As trying to get away, and they come here on their free will. It makes me want to say, how retarded dumb you can. Oh no, you're not retarded dumb. You're paid to pull up that bullshit, and you comply. You're one of them type of niggas that back in the day you would sit there snitch out a nigga, for if he's gonna go against the master. That's how I view it. Anytime I hear these individuals. Even Tolagbe, there was another person that talked about slavery was good. There was one, I guess, some woman, a lawyer in Florida, talking about she was happy that her ancestors were in change, because it said instead of getting out of the environment they're in huts and all that stuff, that they were better off being subjugated. That's what the message she put out on herself in front of national TV or wherever the recording is. That she's saying to young people that it's better to be subjugated than to live free without anybody dictating your destiny and telling you what to do and force you to do some things for 40 years until you die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that a shame?
Mental illness. That is what they consider. That's why I think Bobby Wright and a lot of scholars that write a book called Menticide, for lack of better words. It's shameful, but we have these type of people out here, I tell people many times, you gotta look beyond the classrooms, especially if you get all your your understanding of the world inside of somebody's institution, you're going to be left behind. You're going to be backwards, to be honest with you, the way how this shit's running, because only black people are following the same rubric. You know, what's the rubric? How we used to been trained on Sabi? So you must, go to school, do a good job, do this. And everybody knows that doing that now for the past 50 or more years, it's not really getting much, but really put us more backwards. Hell, we're so far behind. We're in a danger zone right now, Very dangerous right now, the situation. Very dangerous. And black people don't see the emphasis that so they can really cut off a lot of black people right now if they want to now. Because
as long as we continue to send our people to the enemy to teach them, we're going to continue to have this problem. You think about it, teachers spend more time with our children than the parents do. And a lot of that is done by design. So if you're working and you definitely need more than one job in order to make it, you find people that have 2 and 3 jobs and they're still finding it difficult to make ends meet. If you're so busy working, you're relying on somebody else to do for you what if you didn't have to work so hard, you'd clearly be able to do for yourself. And I know on the news lately, sometime this week, they were talking about whether preschool is better for children. And I think they came to the conclusion that it's best to put your children in preschool. And that, studies have been done to show that the kids that go to preschool are more advanced than the children that do not attend preschool. I beg to differ. Who can educate and take care of a child better than his or her mother can? And I know there was I don't know if it was on Facebook where I was watching this video. I can't remember. It might have been Facebook, where this man is, I guess he was the bus driver. He was dragging a child by his feet off of a school bus. And the boy seemed like he was just sitting there passively minding his own business. Or maybe he said something to the bus driver. I don't know what he said. But whatever he did, it didn't give that bus driver a right to drag him by his feet off of the bus. And it looked like his head was hitting the seats as he was being dragged from the bus. Who would allow that to happen? And that kind of stuff happens all the time where you're giving these people who don't care about our children, they're in their care for large portions of the day, each and every day. It has to stop. It definitely has to stop. And, I don't know. What are we going to do? Put up our own schools. We need to own our own businesses. We need to put the foreigners out of our neighborhoods and take control over our communities, period.
There's no if, buts around it. Are you going to do it or not? You're going to keep arguing and keep whining about the problems. That's simple.
Yeah.
But,
and I think if we keep waiting for somebody else to do it, it isn't going to get done. So everybody does what he or she can do. I think I was mentioning that about Tecumseh, where he said, you can take little tiny, Tecumseh was a Native American man, and I talk about him in the book. He was a Shawnee man that was trying to bring different autochthonous people together to fight against Europeans and remove them from the land. And he said that if you took little tiny branches and stacked them one on top of the other of a large tree, just by putting those branches one on top of the other, little tiny branches. So that's what we need to do, take little tiny branches, stack them up one on top of the other, side by side or however we do it, and then begin to make some changes instead of waiting for this big tree to occur, because that ain't going to happen anytime soon. Let's do what we can do, the little that we can each do. Let's do that. and make the changes that we need.
I got a new caller. Let me see who this is. One. May I ask who this is?
Hey, what's happening, Gary? Big OC.
All right, Big OC. All right. Any questions? Big OC.
Yeah. Peace to everybody on the platform.
Peace
She
to you.
kind of said something that Ashita Veda said the other day. You know, when I asked Ashita Veda when do we lose our boys, or when do our boys stop wanting to do everything for their mothers and protect their mothers and their sisters, and she said when they start going to school. And you know, she said the school is what knocks that out of you and puts this man over woman gender role thing on top of the kids, you know, and that makes a lot of sense to me. But then at the same time, if we gonna live right now, this is where we're at. This is our reality right now. And if we gonna teach our kids at home, 9 times out of 10, we're gonna teach them what we learned in the schools. So, do you think we'll have to? I mean, do you think we can do that here collectively in this country and be successful with the model you're trying to go, or would it be better for us to, you know, move somewhere else?
Well, number one, why should we move anywhere else? This is our country.
Yeah,
but
that
number
sounds
two,
good.
Yeah,
See, that sounds
it's
good.
true though.
But I'm
but
just saying the reality though.
But number two, right? We only can do what we can do. For instance, somebody might be good in math. I'm not good in math. You know, I was taught to hate math, and I was taught that I was too dumb to learn math, and that's kind of stuck with me. You know, I said I'm going to go back at some point and take a geometry class or something, because I guess I was so fearful of geometry, you know, just being told that I was too dumb to learn it. So get somebody who does know geometry, who does know math, and have them come and say, okay, you know, we have this little school here. You'll come in from 1 to 3 or 1 to 2 and teach math. And I'm better with languages. And so from 2 to 3, you know, I'll teach French, or I'll teach Spanish, or I'll teach Yoruba. I'll teach some language that the kids need to know. I'll teach Chinese. You know, we all pool our resources and do it that way. Because we don't all know everything. That's why they have schools where they have teachers of English, teachers of social studies, teachers of science. You know, you only do what you can do. We can do that. You know, you start, like I said, start small. And it'll grow like wildfire. I know they have those things now where a lot of parents are homeschooling and they can't do everything. And so they've started a homeschool collective where they have people that specialize in one aspect of the subjects that students need to know, and they teach that. You know, so it can be done.
Nobody's saying it can't be done, but a lot of the things you're saying, or listen to the things that you're saying. Do you believe in your mind that there should have already been these types of institutions on a larger scale happening in this country?
Yeah, there should have been, but we've been sidetracked. No. I think half of the problem was that whole getting involved in that whole civil rights movement. You know, instead of saying I don't have to go and eat in an establishment, you know, some European put in place, I'm perfectly fine with my own.
Yeah, but
you know?
part of that was, but part of that was a physical brutality that was taking place too. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't just about eating somewhere. It's about if I'm walking down the street, I don't want you to just kick me in my ass just because I'm black.
Yeah, but that's still going on. That goes on right now.
Me.
Like we're all standing in line because we don't know where the next assault is coming from. So that hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is we've taken the vast majority of our money out of the community, and we've given it to other people who don't have any love at all for us. They look at us as just dummies.
See, that happened 50 years ago.
No, it's happening now.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but
look at your community. Look at our communities.
Hello. We got 90 seconds left. The show will go overtime in 1 minute. Call in now, 515-605-9783. I repeat, 515-605-9783. If you missed the live stream, you can go continue listening to the show on YouTube. The topic for tonight, Chaos Reign presents the Unconquered, chapters 1 and 2, readings by Dr. Tolagbe Ogunleye. You could continue.
Yeah, and like you said, I can see it in the communities, but I've seen it a long time in the communities, in the black communities that I'm in. I've seen that the money gone a long time ago. Now,
we're not even cutting our hair anymore. We got people, from other. We're letting other people even cut and braid and do all the things to our hair, putting hair of other people in our head and thinking that that's cool. We got more women now running around with blonde hair and red hair that's unnatural to us, and thinking that stuff is cute.
That's been going on.
And, European people are looking at us and shaking their heads and saying, what the devil is wrong with those people? And we think they look good.
Yeah.
Some of us think they actually look good with a blonde wig, or they dye their hair blonde, and they think that's okay.
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on and on. I'm sorry. I don't think the civil rights movement.
With that blonde hair.
Huh?
You love Mary J. Blige with that blonde hair.
Yeah. She ain't the only one. And they think they look good. And the Europeans are looking at us and saying, what? The devil? Or they're laughing all the way to the bank because they're the ones that are making the money.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the ones that, are making the dye. You got the people, the Koreans and the rest of them. They're making that fake hair, that yak, and whatever else they're putting together.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk to some people, they'll say that they're even casting spells into that hair that they have the women putting on their head. And if they're not
Wait a minute.
We're not going there. Are we going there? No, but are we going to spells?
That's
funny.
No, don't start that defensive shit. I'm asking a question. That's all.
No, what was
I'm
saying?
When you? Oh, go ahead.
Yak hair.
I was just laughing at the yak hair comment. That's kind of.
Okay.
It's funny, but it's sad, but it's still funny.
But it's true.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all.
But what about the spells?
There are yak hair suppliers.
Right, but the spells. I want to get to the spells. What spells? What kind of spells are these?
I don't know.
Wait.
Come on,
Hold on, guys. Guys.
She already
guys,
sound like Angel Lady Love.
Hold on, guys, hold on. I got a new caller, and I'm going to let her answer that.
All right, cool.
Talk Real Solutions. Who's this?
Hey, what's up? It's ABC.
Oh, man.
Okay, good. All right, respect ABC. Let her answer the question. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so now I don't know whether or not this is actually true. My husband is from Nigeria. He's a Yoruba man. And he went to Nigeria, and he was talking to a Babalawo, and the Babalawo told him that the hair, that fake hair, or even that human hair that our women are putting in their hair has had spells cast on it. Now, you may not want to believe that. You might find that, weird. But I know for me, I've been to Haiti, and I saw some things, and I had some things done to me when I was there that people would find incredulous, and I witnessed it for myself. Okay? You read papers from Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon, you name it. And in the paper, there's always something about some sort of occurrence that you say, nah, that didn't happen. Like they were talking, for instance, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but it was in the newspaper where this black prostitute was messing with this European man. And whatever amount she was charging him, he decided once he got the services, he didn't want to pay for it. And she told him, okay, I'm going to fix you. When the man got home, he didn't have a penis. And she told him she would give him
You sure she didn't chop
penis.
it off?
No, she didn't chop it off. But she told him when she got her money, he would get his penis back.
And
and my children, wait a minute. My children were in Nigeria at that particular time. They were going to school there. And so for about a week or so, my little boys were walking around covering themselves because they were afraid that someone was going to steal their penis.
Yeah, but they wasn't paying no prostitutes, though. So, I mean, that's a whole different
but they
story.
were still afraid hearing the
right.
hearing the story and knowing that that could occur.
When you said that she gave, when the money would come, if he paid her back the money, he would get his penis back. What was the not the guarantee? What was the exchange going to be? Was it going to be detached or attached back? How that was going to work?
It would just appear back, basically. Okay,
wow.
And they said the man paid her money, and then he got his penis back. Now you don't have to believe this if you don't want to. Okay, but if you check newspapers, check some of those newspapers, from the continent. Start with Nigeria. Put in, man loses his penis for not paying prostitutes. Or, talk to somebody from the continent, and they'll tell you that kind of stuff happens all the time. I know there's just so much, that they'll tell you. Even if you go down south,
Right.
If you go down south, they'll tell you some stories like about Dr. Buzzard in South Carolina and other people and some of the stuff that they've done.
Right.
It sounds incredulous, but if you talk to the men and women who witnessed it, they'll tell you it's absolutely true. Go put in Dr. Buzzard, South Carolina, and see what information comes up.
No, Tolagbe. Hold on, Sarge. Don't mess with the line. I see something switch on the boardwalk.
There you go, creeping in.
Now.
Creeping in the back
door. He's like he's trying to find it.
Sorry. I'm getting it right now.
Put in Dr. Buzzard. Put in Nigeria, man loses penis.
All right.
He might be on the line.
Wait a minute, one more story, and then I'm gonna go on. A man went to a farm, and he was stealing whatever the fruit was in a tree that didn't belong to him. And the farmer supposedly had put a spell on the tree because maybe people had tried to rob him many times before. But he put a spell on the tree, and he said that anyone who tries to steal, who climbs this tree to steal the fruit, they will never get down off of the tree until I come to remove the spell. So this man went up the tree and was stealing, and got ready to come down the tree, and his penis became so long, his penis and his testicles became so large until he could not climb down the tree. They had basically almost overtaken his body.
Okay, so where's this tree again?
Wait a minute. This supposedly happened in Africa. So every time he came down the tree, what type of tree? I don't remember what kind of tree it was, but, a tree you climb up. Maybe a coconut tree or a palm tree. I don't know. So every time he went down the tree,
the eggplant.
His penis and his testicles, I don't know. His penis and his testicles would become elongated, right? When he would climb back up the tree, they would become a normal size. And so he had to stay up in the tree until the man who owned the property allowed him to come down the tree.
Remember
so
the
are we
song?
talking about a mythological story here?
No, this is real. This is real, Howard. Go read that book.
One
what
at
was
a time, guys. One at a time.
Find somebody from the continent. If you think I'm lying, that I'm making this up, on the spur of the moment, find somebody from the continent, try Nigeria, first and foremost, and ask them about the 3 stories that I told. No, 2, because one I was talking about with Dr. Buzzard in South Carolina.
Right.
But ask them about the man losing his penis, ask them about a man stealing, and his testicles becoming elongated and heavy, so he couldn't come down the tree, and only he would get released when he climbed back up. All right, if you think I'm lying.
No, I actually believe that could happen, but it's just the way that you're saying it could happen. Maybe she put a device where if he didn't pay, he would explode it, like a bomb and shit like that. I mean, there's different ways that people could do certain things, but it's just crazy in my mind anyway to hear, people saying, well, I can just do it with magic and thinking and, these spells and all this shit. I don't buy it, but I'm not saying that you're a liar. You're hearing stories too, so I believe that you heard the same thing, and maybe everybody has their own opinion, so I don't doubt that you heard these stories. Now, are what they saying is accurate? I don't know about all that, but that's okay. I sit back, and I like I said, I respect that you're writing a book, and you have a lot of stuff that you brought to the table, so I sit back.
Okay, but you know what, though? There are more European people that are practicing Vodun in this country right now than there are melanated people. And half of the reason why we've surrendered our ability to perform magic is because we've been told that it's devil worship, only pagans and heathens do that, all right? And someone has taken it like they've taken everything else from us, and they're performing magic on us, just like they said that they're doing with that yak, that and even the human hair that our women are using in their hair today. Now, whether it's true or not, just go ask some people from the continent, or ask some people that know a little bit about Vodun, or Lukumi, or Santeria, or whatever they might call that particular religious system. They call it Obeah.
Or voodoo.
Obeah in Jamaica.
Obeah.
Is that what they call it? Obeah?
Obeah.
Talking about
Obeah. Obeah.
That movie with Steven Seagal, you ever saw that? It was a movie with Steven Seagal that he went to Jamaica to get this drug dealer, and he killed him, and it was basically it was some voodoo type of stuff where the guy that he killed wasn't really actually him. What was that movie with damn,
was that
I forgot
Angel
that.
something? Angel?
No, it was a Steven Seagal movie, but when you said
Jamaica,
in it?
Damn,
what's the Pam?
No,
that's not
she
it.
was on
that was
on
Lisa
the Bill
Bonet.
Cosby show.
That was Lisa Bonet.
Right.
Yeah, that's not it.
That was some crazy Angel Heart.
That was Angel Heart.
Angel Heart, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, what was the name of that shit? I think it's wait a minute, I'll find the name. But it was a weird movie, but it was something to what you saying. Like the guy went to go over there, Steven Seagal, and then all of a sudden the guy was practicing voodoo and stuff like that, and he thought he killed the guy, but it wasn't him. And I mean, basically they almost killed Steven Seagal in the movie, but
Well, even the whole thing with making a zombie. European people went over there and they found the type of fish or sea creature, I'll call it a sea creature, that was used to make zombies.
It's like a blowfish. It's like a blowfish. Yes, similar.
And then they brought it back over here, and they started using that in their medicine.
Mark for Death. That was the name of the movie. Mark for Death. Yeah, he goes to Jamaica. He goes to Jamaica and tries to kill the Rasta, and the Rasta does some voodoo on his ass.
Okay.
Obeah.
I have to look that up. And it's Steven Seagal?
Right.
Blueface.
And another one, I'll give you another one. I know you probably seen this, sister. The Believers. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I saw that years ago.
That was a real good film.
Movie. That's a fantastic movie.
Then they had that other one. I can't think of it. It was something like The Believers. I can't think of it right now. But, so they've had a couple of movies. But the point is, we have lost faith in our ability to perform magic. And European people have taken it up, and they're performing magic daily. I know one part of the book I talk about where the native, the autochthonous chief says, "Can you remember when we used to sleep underwater and fly like birds? We'll laugh, but or even making it rain." And I know you've heard about rain dances.
I thought you were going to say making it rain. I was making it rain.
Oh, yeah, that's making it rain.
Oh, not strip club making it rain. No. I'm talking about actually controlling the weather.
You mean the rain dance? The rain dance?
Rain dance.
Yeah. That actually, that's a thing. Yeah. ABC?
And they say that used to happen all the time.
Yeah.
ABC, okay, hold on, guys. Now, ABC, you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. I heard her, the guest, talking about how, we kind of make up these grandiose ideas about what needs to be done when actually it's more simple, just doing, some basic stuff, which I agree with, and I like that. I wanted to ask her, I don't know if she covered this, but do you think we can accomplish those basic things that you're talking about, or any kind of improvement and uplifting without addressing the issue of the family?
Of what family?
The family. With how we got all these kids without daddies and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I start off the book, the first thing I talk about is fictive kin. We've always had fictive kin. I know you all probably do too. Where people you call your cousin or your auntie or your uncle, and you're not related by blood, right? But they become family to you. And you say, that's like my cousin, right? We all have that. I had a fictive kin when I was growing up. So make them your family. They say you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. So if you have family that ain't acting right, you ain't got to stay with them just because. Go find some people that you feel are going to act right.
Hey, aisle 3 is now open.
Someone from aisle 3 was going to say something?
No, we had somebody's at the supermarket right now working, so aisle 3 is open.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, let's redefine family so we can get something done. Make your own family.
Hey, do you believe it's possible that there are parents that don't like their kids?
There are family that don't like their kids.
Yeah, like due to the kid's behavior or how the kid acts. Just
absolutely.
That there's some parents that just don't like their kids, like they just think they're just a little buster. They got to take care of them because they're their child, but it's not a kid that they, necessarily like.
Yeah, it might be something about the child's behavior, or it might be something that the parents did, and now the child is rebelling. And so they no longer care for one another. But that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. And you know what doesn't help any? We have the government in our homes. They're controlling our homes. You better not beat your children. But the cop will beat them upside the head and kill them, and that's okay. But if my child does something that he or she is not supposed to do, and I chastise them or go get a belt, or my mother used to get the switch from outside. You'd have to go get your own switch, and you go get your own switch. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, and then beat you. But I bet you didn't do whatever you got that beaten for again. But now you do that. They want to remove the children from the home, do all sorts of things to you, and then. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Doctor. I interrupt all the time. Please continue. Go ahead.
No. I'm just going to say something about getting beat. Get a hooping. We call it a hooping with the stick, with the switch. But go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
Well, because that's Big OC, right? Talking, right? Yeah, because there are parents who don't like a particular child, and they have to be honest about it. But they got to really 9 times out of 10, it's not the kid; it's the parents' own issues. Either the kid reminds them of the father who they're not crazy about anymore, or the kid reminds them of themselves, or the kid reminds them of their own parent. Like you may look at your son and see a certain mannerism from your father that you didn't appreciate, and you can be just projecting stuff onto the kid. Because most of the time, if a parent has a problem with a kid like that, not all, of course, I would say 85% of the time it's the parent's issue. It's not the kid. I would say, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And look at the parents who reject the child based on his skin color.
Wow.
That's something we haven't dealt with. Or the thickness of their lips or the shape of their nose.
Yep.
They have so they favor one child over another because the child is a little lighter. Hair is a little
mental illness
or whatever it is.
Wait a minute. Actually, Howard had a guest a few months ago. There was a guy involved in the illegal drug trade, who was related to one of these housewives of whatever. One of these shows.
Housewives of Hollywood.
No, this is the NBA wives. I'm sorry, basketball wives. And what happened was the guest that he had on the show, the young man, had a sister, and they both shared different fathers but the same mother, and the mother was blatantly, outwardly prejudiced against her own daughter who was dark chocolate skin. She practically hated this child. She treated her like garbage. And it just ended up being a coincidence that Howard brought the guest on along with his father, how they got out of the trade. And they're, I think they're trying to make a movie or something. But it's still happening to this day. So, yeah.
Mental illness. Mental illness. Passed down from trauma. Done by fabricated by the oppressor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people try to rationalize it and say, well, she doesn't like her because she reminds the mother of the father of her. But I think it's deeper than that. I think it's a self-hate. When she looks at someone that looks like your ancestors and your forefathers and what you're supposed to look like, and you hate them, and it's your own child. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Yeah, but that's absolutely true. And it still unfortunately occurs today. I remember hearing something, reading something, seeing something about Beyonce's father talking about the music industry and how light-skinned women are favored over dark-skinned women, and a lot of people were getting angry at him. But then when they looked at all of the prominent singers, practically all of them are very light in complexion, including his daughter. And hearing about dark-skinned women being denied the opportunity to be in music videos years ago by those brothers, the Hudlin brothers or whatever. They wouldn't choose anyone that was dark. And even, some, I guess, the videos that are still being made, they, favor the lighter skinned women. And so it's a problem. Now, we should favor all of them, because we come in a variety of colors.
Right. I totally agree with that. That shouldn't be more than anything, one of anything. It should be many, a variety, because, like you said, beauty comes in different shades.
Right.
There's beauty in each and every one of them.
Not these niggas, Jay. Not these. If it's not whiter than snow, you ain't gonna.
Yeah, well, I think they need to fix their eyeballs. They got to fix their eyeball adjustments.
Let me tell you something. If they find a Becky with a big ass, big titties, and as white as snow with long hair, they will take that any day of the week to put in these videos in a heartbeat. they women hesitate?
Well, it all boils down to how we're educated. You know, what we see
I
on
can hear you.
TV.
You're far away from the mic.
You sound mumbled, girl.
You're far away from the mic.
No, I'm saying it's based on what we see on TV and how we're educated. So we need to change the images.
Well, they got what's her name, Cardi B? She's supposed to be on the cover of People magazine. I'm like, as what? You know what I mean? Like, as what? I don't get it.
That's your modern day black woman. That's the modern day black woman right there.
And she's nasty. The stuff that she does on TV, no one should see her doing that stuff.
Yeah, but she's like 8 or 9 months pregnant, ain't she? She's still doing it.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's ridiculous.
You know,
and she's not ashamed.
She's getting that money.
You know, so what is she telling? What is the message she's sending to other little girls? Be a whore like me and you'll be successful?
Hey, hey, can I say something, Gary? I want y'all to think about something that I was just thinking about. It's kind of off subject, but not really. I used to have a friend when I was growing up. And he used to get his ass kicked all the time, you know, all the time. But in the middle of those ass kickings, he would turn into superheroes. And then, you know, he'd be like, oh, you know, I'm the Incredible Hulk now. And then he would get his ass kicked. No, I'm Superman now. And he would get his ass kicked. And I was just thinking, relating that to the black people throughout the world. And we've been constantly getting our asses kicked. But we constantly put these superpowers on ourselves. You know, dicks growing big on trees, or people now believing in vibranium. You know, we did this or did that, or you know. And I just was thinking it's kind of similar to that young kid that I grew up with that always got his ass kicked and tried to make himself into a super person, but he wasn't. He was just a human being that was getting his ass kicked. And I want to know, what does the doctor, or any of you, Big OC, any of you think about that? Because that was a psychology from a kid who was doing that, a young kid. But I look at it, and as a race, we got older people, I think, doing the same thing. And it doesn't keep you from getting your ass kicked, because he continued to get his ass kicked. I just want to know, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that was a pretty good analogy.
Analogy.
Yeah, that was pretty good right there. But I want to hear the doctor on that one.
Well, superheroes, are they real? Right? Should we be using that as the, I don't know. Is it, that's not real. We have people who have done heroic things, and or are we saying that because most of the people that have stood up for us have been assassinated, like Malcolm X being assassinated? Is that where that comes from? Where we're so afraid of taking the position, a leadership role, because we fear that what happened to Malcolm will happen to us?
No, sister, that's not what I'm saying.
Hold on, Howard. I think it's more of him saying something like, if we can put spells on people, and if we were the first to do these things and we have these abilities, then why can't we simply put a spell on the white man to have him disappear? If we can do these spells to make niggas dicks long from getting in the tree and shit like that. But go ahead, Howard, if I didn't hit it right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying in the psychology of the story I told, the psychology of that kid, and I'm relating it to the psychology of us, a lot of us I see today. We're getting the ass kicked so much, we're reaching back to try to reach back to some special shit. And as you said, with the boy, the superheroes don't exist. See, and I look at it the same way when I look at some of my brothers and sisters trying to put special powers on us. It doesn't exist. Just like the little boy, if you look into some shit that don't exist, you're going to continue to get your ass kicked. But see, if that little boy would have went in the gym, put some work in, and learned how to fight, learned how to win the game, he probably wouldn't have got his ass kicked so much. You understand what I'm saying, Doctor?
Yeah. So you're saying the superhero is basically a costume that one puts on without having done the work necessary to actually merit that title. Would that be correct?
Say again?
The superhero has basically just put on a costume, but the work that was needed to merit that title of being heroic has not been done.
No, the boy
right.
in his mind put on a costume or put on a facade, something that made him feel like he was going to be stronger, something that made him feel that he was better. But it was not. It was a facade. It was fake. It was phony. And he still got his ass kicked.
Right. And then you said if he had done the actual work.
If he had actually done the work to learn how to fight what was beating him down, he would have fared a lot better than believing in trying to turn into a superhero.
Yeah. Well, that's true. A lot of us, we definitely need to do the work and stop playing and acting like we're doing the work.
Let me ask you, do you think that people like David Blaine, what's his name? There's a couple of other people that's out in Vegas. There's they call themselves, some of them call themselves master illusionists. Some people say that they do magic. David Copperfield. What's your sense on them?
Well, I know that David Blaine really believed the hype, and he went to Haiti, and they sent him packing. They told him, "Don't come over here with that foolishness, because we'll put something on you." So I think he, I don't think he's as genuine as he wants us to believe he is. He's a child in comparison to the real magic that's out there, and I think he discovered that. So maybe since then, since they sent him packing, maybe he's done whatever is necessary to learn more about voodoo, hoodoo, whatever you want to call it, lukumi, maybe. I don't know. I'm a believer. And maybe I'm prejudiced because my great grandfather was a root worker in South Carolina, and just hearing some of the stories about what he did during his lifetime, I just believe, And I know if you go to church, it's kind of difficult to believe about the existence of this other way of manipulating, because basically they said that that's all voodoo is manipulating the elements, making the elements work for you. But look at and I know that you've heard of what do they call that that program where they control the weather? I haven't had the HARP program.
Yeah.
You've heard of the HARP program, right?
I've heard about it, but I don't believe it.
You don't? You've heard of Nikola Tesla.
Yes, of course.
Right, where he would create earthquakes.
Well, I think that we contribute to earthquakes in a way that we're not. Well, I guess now I'm gonna say by accident, but what is already over there kind of make it worse. And then what you said before, that people, they have certain beliefs and stuff like that. So I don't knock it.
Yeah. Well, the HARP program actually exists, and then they have another one out of Alaska. I can't think of the name of that particular program. So people
when you mentioned that.
Well, huh?
No, when you mentioned that, I know they do some type of not manipulation, but yeah, they do something like in the United Emirates, they cloud seed and stuff like that. But then people say it's deeper than that. And I know what happened in Vietnam, certain stuff they did, but again, it goes beyond that. When people start talking, they start saying it's deeper than that. That's what I'm saying.
Right. They were saying even the tsunami that occurred in Japan, what has that been, like 5 or 6 years ago? They said that was
7 years
based on
ago.
a weather war. 7 years ago, they say it was based on a weather war.
Hiroshima nuclear plant, and some of the cores went under the ocean, spreading radiation across the.
Right. But the tsunami was sent specifically to that area near that nuclear plant, so that the plant would explode. And they said that this government, the United States government, was responsible for that. Now, whether we believe that or not, I guess it depends on your opinions and philosophies. It doesn't sound far-fetched to me that people manipulate the weather, just knowing what I know about Nikola Tesla. And what I heard about, people doing here in this country prior to the coming of Europeans, rain dances and other things that were done. I don't know. The president of Venezuela that was recently assassinated, I can't think of his name right now.
Hugo.
The president, Hugo Chavez. He accused the United States of sending the hurricanes to Haiti. Maybe some people laughed and said, "Oh, come on, that's ridiculous."
I know if Angel Lady Love was listening, she'd definitely be agreeing with you 100% on that.
What is her name? Angel Lady Love?
Yes.
Okay, I've never heard of her, but I'd like to hear what she has to say.
Yeah, she's from Philly.
She has a book also. You sound similar to her, but like 20 years younger.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what she has to say.
Yeah, but she's nowhere near close to you, Attila, because you, a person that actually have real history and you don't really fabricate, and you have actually written books. You talk about writing books. And
Angel Lady Love says she has a book too, remember, Gary?
Yeah, she has
the Angel Lady Love papers.
A little make-believe one where you can't
Probably
find
1
right
through
now.
100.
And you can't find this on anywhere, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there have been so many people out there that are said to practice voodoo, hoodoo, like you have Madame Marie Laveau who lived in New Orleans. And then if you've read Zora Hurston. Huh?
You mean is she alive or is she gone?
Madame Laveau? Oh, she's been gone. Okay. But if you read Zora Neale Hurston's book, she has a book called Tell My Horse. I think it's interesting reading, where she went to Haiti and she was investigating everything or a lot of things related to Vodun, and she gave away secrets that they told her not to give away, and they told her if she did it, she was going to suffer. And she came back to the United States, and not long after coming back from Haiti, she passed away. You know, now some people might say that that's coincidence. You know, I really don't know for sure. But they say that she was punished for saying some things that she was not supposed to say. Could be true, could not be true. But I think it's excellent reading. Read Tell My Horse. You know, where she talks specifically about Vodun. So, I don't know. There's just so much information. But again, I do believe that what we could know about or would be exposed to in terms of Vodun, hoodoo, or whatever the system is, we've been forced to look at those systems as being devil worship because somebody told us that they were, if we practice those systems, or if we even try and learn about those systems, that we're spending time with the devil. And so we don't. We shy away from it. Some people do. But,
so you believe in the devil?
Yeah. No. I don't believe in the devil. No.
No.
I
think you believe in it, but do you believe that something like that exists, a being or something that is supposed to be in a negative form and has a higher power?
No, I don't believe in that.
Okay.
No, I believe people are devilish.
Right. I agree with you. I agree
but
there, 100%.
A devil with horns and a red face, no, I don't believe in that. But I do believe in reincarnation, and most people, no, not most people, a lot of African people believe in reincarnation, and you know it because of the way that they name their children. For instance, my son's name is Baba Tunde, and Baba Tunde means father returns. So when a man's father dies, he names his male child Baba Tunde, which means that his father returned. And I know even here in the United States of America, when our children are born, we'll say that child resembles so-and-so and such that had passed away. Like my son just had a boy. He's a year old now. And that boy reminds me of my father. The way he looks, his mannerisms, and he's only a year old. You know, and I said, that's my father returning. You know,
okay.
And I know I'm not the only one that talks about that, you know, we have ancestors that continue to come back. You know,
Mm-hmm.
And when my mother saw her great-grandson, she said the same exact thing. She said, yeah, he does. He's got the mannerisms of my late husband. You know, so there's a lot out there. I know they have a thing in Nigeria, what they call them abiku, where if a child dies when he's a baby and the mother and the father, they're grieving about him, they put marks on the baby's face, or they on his arm, on his leg, on something. And then the next child is born, the same place where they mark that child, the new baby comes and has those marks that were put on the previous child. Now, some people say, nah, that doesn't happen, but they have a name for it, Abiku, A-B-I, I think that's it, A-B-I-K-U, if I'm not mistaken. That's how you say it, or how you spell it.
Hey, if y'all hear me,
right.
give me back to the
guys, hold on.
conversation.
I got a new caller. 401. Who's this? 404.
My name Wes. But
You have any
y'all hear me?
questions?
This country got this country got so many weapons. I want y'all to put in this number in y'all browser. Punch this number up, 5159703. I want all y'all to put that number in y'all browser and then explain what y'all just read. 5159703.
Isn't that the telephone, half of the telephone number of the show?
No, man. 51597. Just put it in Google that number, man. Them New Yorkers always got to come with a joke, man. I'm trying to drop some knowledge to y'all, man. This serious
drop
stuff,
some knowledge, please. Teach me something for a change.
Just Google that number, man. Just Google that number, 5159703.
It's bringing me to TRS show right now.
All right. That was interesting.
It says a wrist antenna, watch pager, and wrist antenna. Is that what we're supposed to get?
It's 5159703.
Oh, 703.
Doctor, don't do it. Don't do it.
No, do it.
You might disappear right now.
No, you're going to disappear. You're going to get some knowledge.
It says silent subliminal presentation system.
Correct.
Okay, could you explain that?
That is a subliminal weapon that they use to get people to do stupid stuff to each other and fight. That's mind control right there.
And what is it? What is it exactly? A wand or something?
Nah, bro, it's sound. Subliminal weapon, sound. It's almost like people whisper.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's a weapon, military weapon.
A military. Now, I think that they got. I've seen some stuff years back, and this is something serious. It was I think it was on the military channel or Discovery, and they were showing where they was showing the future weapons, right? And they showed this prototype or the shit they actually made it. It just hasn't went on a massive scale, where basically it's a gun with a light, right? And then when they pointed the light, once they press the trigger button, it don't shoot no bullets or nothing. It shoots a light, and it makes the person fall to the ground. I guess it has some type of sound waves that we don't know about, that we can't hear, and it just makes the person drop. It paralyzes them for a couple of seconds. Now, that shit is something that's real.
Control. It's supposed to be
right.
control.
Some shit.
Well, didn't they use that in
Philadelphia
years ago when they were calling Philadelphia Philadelphia? Because they said some sort of weapon had been pointed in this direction that made people want to fight and kill one another.
That's right. Absolutely right. That's an acoustic.
Wait a minute. That was subsonic air pressure.
What I'm talking about, or what they talking about?
Oh.
It's all different kind of variations of the weapon.
Stop laughing, OT.
Now, what I did see though was real. Like this wasn't no far fetched shit. It was something that they were showing, and they was basically, but it's not massively produced. It was a weapon that basically the military is looking to use. And then they were saying that it would go to the police department as well in the future.
There you go. That's right.
But if they say it's in the future, that means they've already been using it for at least 10 years.
Right.
Thank you.
And like I said, it's not nothing crazy. They explained what it was. It was just saying something that had to do with some sound.
It looks like
there's
using
certain
particles
frequencies.
of energy. They're using
something like that.
It's a particle
it's
wave
concentrated.
Remember, it's a particle wave that used to infrared the body molecular structure of the body. So when you shoot a beam of energy, it's supposed to paralyze the chimera. It must go straight to the brain, where most of the energy is harnessed, and the cerebral cortex. So
right, or it might be doing something to your eardrum. Yeah. It might be doing something to the eardrum that you don't hear like everybody else hears, but obviously everything is connected. So it might drop you to the floor. It does something to your nerve, and you just drop.
It goes back
and it don't kill you, though.
It's cerebral cortex.
That nigga's crazy.
They could make one person do something crazy, or they could make the whole group do something crazy. Y'all remember when them Iraqi soldiers surrendered and at the first Iraqi war? Remember all of them gave up their guns, talking they heard the voice of Allah talking to them? Remember that?
Well, you got to talk to Tyrone and Sarge about that. Sarge might know more. He was there.
I can't talk to Sarge, man.
No, Tyrone probably would know more about it. He left the military 9 years ago.
You just got to put on some earplugs, man. That's all, Wes. Put on some earplugs.
They got Sarge, man. He's military. They already used all that on Sarge, man. That's why he acting like that.
So wait a minute. They used it on him instead of him using it on the enemy?
They use it on our soldiers first.
People.
They tested it on our people first, man.
Right.
Guys,
it's possible.
Guys, I got a new color. All ones. Who's this? Huh?
It's George Patton. George Patton on the line.
George?
Wait, listen a little bit. Just listen. He's talking. You just can't hear him. That's all.
At the pool, did you open me up already?
There you go.
All right, there you go. She was talking to us subliminally.
Angel, wait. That's what I'm gonna do. Angel, you're gonna have to probably. What? Let me see. You have any question, comments?
Yeah, but hold on, Gary. Before you put her on, maybe when you didn't hear
No, you can't. Hold on. Oh, Jay.
She was testing something on us, man.
No. Let her speak. Angela, you gotta speak now because this show is not gonna last long.
Okay. Well, I want to say good evening to our guest, Honorable Doctor. I love your name. However, I don't want to misspeak it. I am the Angel Lady Love Listener, Inspirer, Friend, Emissary that they spoke. And I have enjoyed. When I came on, I wasn't sure what I was listening to because you were reading. That was your book?
Yes.
And that is your book, I should say.
Yeah, the first 2 chapters.
Oh, so it's like a compilation of several writers?
No, it's my book, but I just read the first 2 chapters of the book.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I heard someone talking about, and it's interesting, well, what you're talking about now, I contend that they already have that. And Philadelphia is not called Philadelphia. That's something that some of the young people started saying. Rap artists, perhaps, or something like that, I don't know. The Philadelphia means brotherly love, transliterated from Greek. And the Honorable Brother Georgie Woods, who was a DJ from Georgia here in Philadelphia for over a quarter of a century, he labeled it and sisterly affection. So brotherly love and sisterly affection. And it's all about love. And the name Philadelphia came from the angel of the Church of Philadelphia that's mentioned in Revelation chapter 1 and Revelation chapter 3, especially verses 6 to 13. 6 to 13, they try to say there's 613 Mosaic laws. I say there are 614. But back to, you were talking about Obia. Is that what you said?
Right.
Oh no. When you were saying Budum, I thought to tell Honorable Brother Gary he would understand Obia, and Honorable Brother JNYC would better understand Santeria. And then you have others that I won't get into since I didn't plan to talk about this. But this has been much of our fall. It has caused us to be superstitious and hate each other. Because if anything, when you study, especially Haiti, that they look at what they did to the general, what was he? I was just thinking of him the other day. Toussaint L'Ouverture. Toussaint L'Ouverture. I can talk about Aristide too, how they took him out of his country with his Caucasian wife. Both, he was a priest and his wife was a nun. And the bottom line is, no one said anything when President George W. Bush moved them out of their own country. And I think they sent them first to, I'm not sure if they sent them first to Africa or Jamaica. I'm not sure. It may have been sent to Jamaica first and then to Africa without their consent. And the lady that did the show Democracy Now!, she was there when he was to come back home because, with Baby Doc, I don't know what has happened with he nor Aristide since they've been back to Haiti. But one should look into how these people didn't respond to their own person. I think he was originally from Haiti. Toussaint Louverture, the Caucasian, stole his money. And the rest is history, so to speak. But see, this is what has caused us to lose, or if you will give us the fall. The bottom line is we are the original, and we are what you want to call God. Well, the truth is we are the supreme being in and on earth as it is in heaven. We are. And we are melanin enriched, yes. And the other beings who, when you look at the genetically engineered chart, the Caucasoids, see, there are only 3 races originally on this earth. Not originally. The other 2, were genetically engineered or have other types of their degeneracy. The bottom line, the Caucasoids are the ones that you see on that chart that started out as the ape, the monkey. There was no such thing as evolving. They'll call it an evolution chart. You know why? Because they have control of the words. Despite that, we should have to look in the dictionary for different words because they change them all the time to their benefit. And the other variable is, I heard you say we are the Aboriginal.
Angel.
Yes?
Stay online for a second. Let me do this. Let me just go up the line. Give me a second, people. I'm just going up the line right now, the charts. You too, Howard. Sit down. Okay, Tolagbe?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. This is the conclusion of tonight's show because we already gone through enough overtime. And, I want to end it now on a good note instead of cutting up abruptly. Any last 2 words you want to say for tonight's session and what to expect next month? We're going to more.
Yeah. Get the book. You can read it for free. It's the ebook. All you have to do is just go to Amazon. I think it's worth reading. It's packed with historically accurate information, and I think it'll make you feel proud, in my estimation. Yeah, next week. Not next week. Next month, we're going to get into the war and what brought about the war, the Yamasee War that occurred in 1715, and how the Yamasee dealt with their adversaries. And I think you'll be satisfied. But in the interim, read the book yourself.
Okay.
Like I said, you can read it for free.
And like always, I tell people, not only you can read it free from Kindle, but also try to get yourself the original hardcover, the paperback, if you can. It was good to have in your library for not only yourselves, but your children. But thank you again to Tolagbe Ogunleye for tonight's session. And I'd like to thank everybody that listened in tonight on Talk World Solutions and people listening out there. We have many people across the world, especially majority here, more than 90% listen to Talk World Solutions in this country, and the other small percent listen to Europe, and I think the other countries maybe in Asia. I got to double check. But other than that, thank you again. And until next time, this is Chaos Reign Presents.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, thank you too. Good night, Black people.
All right. Good night.